very good evening and a warm welcome to Personal Finance. I'm Gugulethu Cele. Now today I'm joined in studio by Niel Kingsley, who's the Franchise Director for Discovery Consulting Services, to help us understand a little bit further as to how we can get involved in extramural activities and sporting activities in such a manner that doesn't really impact our pockets quite negatively. Good to have you with us today in studio, Niel, and thank you so much for your time. Let's pick up on the health trends. Everybody has a Fitbit on or is trying to participate in triathlons together with other sporting activities. But truth be told, these hobbies aren't exactly cost effective, right? Or can they be?
Thank you for having me. Well, you're right. I mean, I think there's a big perception that especially multi-sports, triathlons and duathlons are quite expensive. I mean, you see these guys racing down the road in helmets and time trial bikes and so on, and it looks expensive. The reality is they really are not. And the truth be told, I mean, with any hobby, money shouldn't be prohibitive to getting involved and just getting involved in a hobby that makes you healthy and you have just so much fun. So if you do your homework, you meet people that know about it and they can guide you, it's absolutely not expensive at all. It is as expensive as you make the hobby.
So teach a girl like me, for instance, who wants to get into cycling, but I don't want someone's crummy hand-me-downs. I want good quality, but at a good price. How do I go about evaluating which particular items might work well for me?
Okay, so let's talk about a triathlon, because that's probably where you might start. So, you know, if you think about it, you're going to have to, your biggest investment is going to be in your training. You need to get your body up to speed. You need to get your fitness up to speed. You need to get your endurance up to speed. So it's a lot of time on the road, a lot of time in the pool. And that's actually where you're going to start. That doesn't necessarily have to cost you money. Where you don't want to skimp are things like running shoes. Now, I'm not saying for a second that you need the most expensive running shoes. What I am saying is that get proper advice, go to a podiatrist even. Go and have a running leg assessment. Doesn't cost you a lot of money. Go armed with that advice, go armed with that information to a reputable running shop. Get a pair of running shoes that don't have to be expensive, but they need to fit. There's nothing worse than running 21 kilometers with shoes that are going to give you blisters. That you don't skimp on that. You don't need a bike to start with. Join a club, especially triathlon clubs and running clubs and cycling clubs. They are full of people with great advice. They will help you. They'll show you where you can get a second-hand bike. Second-hand bikes are not so bad. You know, a second-hand bike, I started on a second-hand bike. Many people start on second-hand bikes.
Sorry, I was thinking of the graphics of the sweaty palms and...
Yeah, you get into that later, when you enjoy the sport. But I can tell you, there's nothing worse than sitting on a really expensive bike and a guy come past you on a bike that's half the price.
Exactly.
Because he's invested in his fitness. And if it's a toss-up between kit and training, you always go for training.
Kit and training, go for training.
Absolutely.
What about kit? Are there cheaper alternatives on the market though, like you say, or again, is that where one also needs to look at alternative investments there?
Absolutely. There are so many alternatives on the market. Look at the websites, look at Facebook. There's so much advice, so many places where you can pick up second-hand gear and good gear. I'm a very strong believer in a coach. I think you need a coach, especially if you're going to go into the triathlon world. It's complex. You're not going to operate on yourself by the same token. It's very difficult to train yourself, and you need that motivation. Those people will guide you, and I can tell you now, it's really not expensive to get in. All you've got to do is take the commitment, put your first foot forward, and go for it.
What about the competitions and the races themselves? Because those also come with hidden costs that a lot of us might not be aware of sometimes.
Sure, and that is true. I mean, and those are costs that we can't control. So a lot of the triathlons are down at the coast. So it does require either a plane ticket and there's obviously an entry fee and so on. But to be fair, these are things that you're only going to do way down the line. You're not going to do them straight away. And I must tell you that there are a lot of duathlons. I mean, Discovery sponsors a duathlon in Sandton, which we did in sort of towards the end of last year. Those kind of things, those entry-level triathlons, and we do one in Cape Town as well towards the end of April, the Discovery World Champs. Those kind of events, we specifically put them so that they are cost-effective, so that we can get people into the system. There are a lot of triathlons around that are really not that expensive.
Is it cheaper as well to join a club or work within a group of individuals where you kind of put your money together in a kitty and work from there rather than going it alone?
So you can do that. So what is an attractive option, which some of the triathlons do offer, is that you can join as a team. So you can go just 2 or 3 people, especially for some, especially in the triathlon world. Swimming is not always the one that everybody likes, and some people are not so strong on the swimming. So you might get a person that will do the swim for you, and you might do the cycling. Somebody else might do the run, and you share that cost. So there are so many ways to get involved. You just have to do it.
Exactly. To piggyback off of the theme regarding discovery, I understand that you can also take advantage of your incentives in order to purchase a few of these items cheaply instead of using any other retail store. Is that another option that we need to look at as consumers?
Absolutely. I mean, the one thing is certainly about training is that you need to know where you are. You need to know how far you've run and how long did it take you. I mean, on our Vitality program, and specifically with some of our partners, we have made it very easy and very accessible to pick up watches, buy computers, etc. for exactly that reason, to make it a lot more accessible. I mean, that has really taken off extremely well. We introduced our Active Rewards program towards the end of last year, and I mean, that has been just phenomenal take-up on that. And there, where people are training and getting rewarded for it, you know, I mean, it is just the most phenomenal thing. It just has got people out onto the streets training, and it's just been the most amazing thing.
Without impacting their back pocket like
Absolutely.
you.
Absolutely.
Two options for a girl like me: my husband's credit card or finding a sponsor, or like you say, looking for cheaper alternatives and investing on the training. What should I be exploring? I think my husband's credit card would be the easier option.
You're probably right. It probably is the easier option. I think, I mean, you know, as a start, there are a couple of things, especially if you're going to look in the triathlon thing. Use your husband's credit card for a good pair of goggles that don't leak, a good pair of running shoes, and a coach.
What about for the individual like myself who doesn't like tossing things away too easily? Can I take the items that I've used, like the goggles, which might begin to leak in time, and hand them down to another facility or a club of individuals who are still learning the craft?
So we all do that. We all start somewhere. We all buy goggles and hand them to somebody. And that's the great thing about being in a club, where you are in contact with other people. New novices are coming in. And the great thing about a multi-sport like this is that the people are very friendly and they're very happy to help. And all of us are always handing over goggles or tri-suits or flippers or anything like that. And that's the great, and that's why joining a club, getting running buddies, getting swimming buddies is so important, because it motivates you. That's where you invest yourself.
Exactly. Just before we get our key takeaway points from tonight's conversation, something else I wanted to touch on was the overall benefits.
Yes.
So fundamentally, if we participate in these health objectives, it also has a positive impact on our back pocket when it comes to medical aid treatments, because then for some reason I might not need to visit the GP as often as I previously had to, right? Absolutely.
I mean, our whole Vitality program is based exactly around that, knowing your state of health, improving it. And we know, I mean, we have shown over, and our data has shown over the many years that we introduced Vitality, that as people get better, and then so their wellness gets better, so we find that their claims reduce. And it's almost intuitive, isn't it? And I have to tell you that as soon as you start doing that, and that's how I started, I was overweight.
No way.
Absolutely.
And where did you start?
Hugely overweight. I started doing the park runs, which we are very involved in. Ran 5 kilometers, absolutely hated it, persevered, carried on, started doing 10Ks, 21Ks, marathons, triathlons, duathlons. That's how you start. But the overall benefit, I mean, just physically is massive. And of course, the fact that I'm an absolute Vitality freak and a professional Vitality user, I get all of that back. And that's where the secret lies.
Look at you now, Niel. Healthy and handsome.
Indeed. You're very pleasant. Thank you.
Well, let's get a quick recap of some of the takeaway points that we've certainly discussed tonight with regard to living a healthy lifestyle in such a manner that doesn't burn your back pocket. Niel, as I've alluded to, quite a bit that we've touched on, but perhaps if you can give us the key takeaway points for viewers and myself to actually bear in mind when it comes to trying those triathlons out in a cost-effective manner.
Sure. So I think the first point that we must remember is that unless you're a professional, for somebody like me, I do this for fun. Fun is not getting myself into debt to get into that hobby. That's not fun. That's the first point. The second point is that if it's a toss-up between training and kit, always go for training. It'll help you a lot more than kit. And the third point, I think, is go for it. Just go and do it. It's not expensive. It doesn't have to be expensive. You'll have the best fun of your life.
Exactly. Niel, thank you so much for your time today and providing us with some inspiration, which is positive for our health and good for our pockets too. But that's where we'll leave it for Personal Finance tonight. A big thank you once more to my guest, Niel Kingsley, who's the financial director, or rather franchise director for Discovery Consulting Services, joining us today for providing us with some kind of assistance when it comes to exploring the healthier side of life in a cost-effective measure. You too can actually get in touch with us by sending us any of your tweets or comments to @CNBC Africa using the hashtag Finance410, or to myself @Gugulethu. But alternatively, we'll see you next time here on Personal Finance, and feel free to send us emails and your tweets with regard to queries or ideas you have for the show. From myself and the team, it's goodbye for now.